Okay, hi everyone. Sorry this is so loud. We're trying to figure out a balance with the microphone, so I'm gonna ask that you work with me until we figure out the tech side of things. But really excited to see all of you here. I'm really excited to say that we're going to be meeting in the ballroom next time. So next time we have Senate, we'll be in the real ballroom. And for some of you, that will be your first time in the ballroom, which is really exciting. So look forward to that. We're gonna call to open at 6:32 p.m. on 10/20/21. All that means is that we are beginning our 5th Senate of the semester. Wonderful to see so many of you here. And we are going to take attendance through the WebEx and through the attendance sheet, which is going to go around later. So just stick around. If you have to head out early, just let me know. I know some of you have texted me. For those of you who haven't, I will just ask that you come up so that you can sign the attendance sheet so that we don't sort of like lose the fact that we're here. I want to make sure that you're all tracked down as having attended. Okay, the microphone just switched off. Okay, so we would typically move into public comment, but seeing that the transfer students are actually going to come next Senate. They had a ton of things going on with midterms, so they're coming next time. And Michael Vidal's not here yet, so we will most likely have him go later when he hopefully comes. Otherwise, we'll move into next Senate. So we're going to move into reports. And typically what we do with reports, for those of you who are newer, is that in the past we've had all of the Gov board members discuss their reports at Senate, which takes a pretty long time if there are a lot of things going on. It's just like a summary of what they do. But usually what we've done in more recent times is to save time, we've had them put all their reports in a cool slide, and that way you can just look at it on your own time. You don't have to worry about sitting through it. Today, unfortunately, for some of you who want to head out, we do need to have them do it in person because there was a lot going on this week, and also because the slides just were acting up. And so we're going to start with, is Hannah here? Okay, I don't see Janana, so we're going to skip Ag Affairs unless somebody can do a summary of Janana's reports. Is there anybody here who can do that? Seeing none. All right, we're going to go to External Affairs. Just Lily, if you want to come up here. Otherwise, yeah, just do a quick cover of your report. But basically, this is just going to be a summary of what Lily's been up to, and yeah, you can ask her questions afterwards.
Hi everyone, I'm Lily, I'm the Director of External Affairs. I have a really brief report. So the UConn Votes Initiative is starting back up again. So next week, Monday and Wednesday, we'll be tabling on Fairfield Way registering students to vote from 2 to 4 on Monday and 1 to 3 on Wednesday. If anyone's interested in helping out, you can email me. I think it's External Affairs at USG. External Affairs at USG.uconn.edu. Okay, yeah, that's it. So you can email me there. Basically, you can, if you're coming up to the stand, you guys have some context for it. If people are asking, you'll be able to scan a QR code that either will take you to register to vote if you're not already, or take you to a site where you can check your registration status, and then either way, you'll get an insomnia cookie, which hopefully is enticing for people. And then next week, anyone who's interested in coming to committee, or who's I'm sorry, I really am having a difficult time controlling the volume. Anyone who's interested in coming to committee or is assigned to my committee is welcome to join us. We'll finally be getting started on our Go list, which is our list of initiatives for the next year. So yeah, just email me if you have any questions.
Thanks, Lily. Does anyone have any questions for Lily or about external affairs in general? Okay, excellent. Seeing now we move to student services. I do know that Alexis is online. I'm just going to ask Alexis in the chat, do you want to call me on my phone and speak about your report? Okay, Alexis, do you want to go over your report?
Yeah, I can. Sorry, I couldn't. For some reason, you guys didn't hear me. But so report with student services that we're working on getting our mask initiative going to make sure that students in residential halls have masks, whether disposable or reusable. So we just allocated that to student services. And next student services meeting, so tomorrow, 6 to 7, we'll be meeting with the director of Shaw and the director of health promotion at UConn. So you guys are all welcome to come.
Perfect, thank you. Oh, is there more?
Oh, and yes, I be nominating two advocacy directors. Okay.
Okay, does anyone have any questions for Alexis or about student services? Okay, excellent. So we're going to move on to student development. Neha, if you want to speak about it a little bit.
Hello. So we've mostly been working on the cultural appreciation series, which is starting in, I want to say like 3 weeks. We're doing an event at the Women's Center. And in addition to that, I will also be hiring an advocacy coordinator like towards the end of this week.
Okay, questions for Neha? All right, seeing now we move on to our Chief Justice, Holly Ann, but she's not here, so we're going to skip through. I don't have a report at the moment. I think all of you are sort of up to date with what we've been working on since we had caucus last week. Then we have our comptroller, Chris Bergen. I do know that Chris is going to be presenting the budget later, but Chris, is there anything else you wanted to give a report on?
Yeah, I can talk about it. Hi everyone, my name is Chris Bergen. I'm the comptroller. Pretty much the only thing I'd say that might be of interest to everyone is, so for those who don't know, RSOs and clubs on campus, they request funding through USG, and a lot of that funding goes towards equipment. So when they get funding for that equipment is still our property. So basically over the last couple of years, there hasn't really been any accounting of that. So that's pretty much what I'm working on right now, just creating a list that's updated with all the inventory and putting together a process for that, so we actually know how much stuff we have in our possession. So.
Perfect. Any questions for Chris or about this comptroller things in general? Okay. Seeing now we want to move on to our communications director. I want to come here, James, and give a little bit of a summary of what you've been up to.
Hi everyone. Hopefully you can all hear me okay. I'll try to navigate this mic situation. So the communications team this past week and this next week, looking ahead a little bit, hopefully everyone saw the water bottle filling station survey we put out. We managed to get a lot of responses to it, so we're very pleased with that, but are looking at doing another post advertising it and seeing if we can get a couple more responses to that. Moving forward, the voter registration drive that Lily mentioned earlier. So we're trying to do the digital side of getting as many people registered to vote as possible. We're also looking at doing some kind of rally for a Peaceful Planet retrospective post out, hopefully in the coming weeks. Website updates as always, and as I mentioned in caucus last week, I'm not sure if everyone was there. If you find any errors or mistakes on the website, or there's a page that should be updated, reach out to communications@usg.uconn.edu, please. Really appreciate that. Outside of that, just two other broader things. We're working on a lot of merchandise for different parts of the organization, different events we have going on, so hopefully that will all end up looking great. I'm sure it'll come out very nicely. And several posts for upcoming events, including the aforementioned Cultural Appreciation Series. Myself specifically, what's fresh on my mind right now is finalizing the comms team budget, which you'll hear about at length later in Senate. That's all I got.
Thank you, James. Does anyone have any questions for James in the comms team? Okay, so what we're going to do now is a little bit different. We've got the report of the Chief Diversity Officer, but what we're going to do is we're going to begin with a presentation that has to do with diversity. And really, we have a very special guest here to speak to us, and then after that, we'll continue with our reports. But I think this report's going to be kind of overwhelming and tiring. It's nice to break that up. And we have a wonderful guest who's here with us, Michael Vidal. He is newly hired to be in charge of diversity and inclusion initiatives at UConn. So I think a lot of you may be interested in working with him throughout the year, just connecting with him, talking about ideas that you have. So So Michael, if you want to come up and introduce yourself, thank you for being here. If we can get a round of applause for Michael.
Good evening, everyone. How are you? Good. It's wonderful to see you. Thank you so much for the introduction. Again, Michael Vidal, he, him, his pronouns. I recently joined the Office for Diversity and Inclusion. This is actually my 5th week on the job, so I'm very new, but also incredibly honored to join UConn, to join the ODI, and of course to be here with all of you. A little bit about my role, just in general. It is a new role to the institution and to the Office for Diversity and Inclusion. In my role, I primarily work with UConn's cultural centers, the Division for Student Affairs, Enrollment Management, the Graduate School, of course, hopefully our undergraduate and graduate student governments, and really any other student-facing services to coordinate the delivery of DEI initiatives here at Stores, but also really across the UConn system. And so I'm really excited to really partner with all of you and of course all of our campus partners to really advance DEI efforts, to really cultivate a sense of belonging, to really thinking about access and equity for all of our students with a particular focus on our historically underrepresented students in the academy. I am very mobile, so pardon my casual look today. I'm someone that while I'm in my office, sort of in the short term throughout the week, I'm usually out and about, walking, meeting folks, and I'm sort of in my listening tour. So I want to say that I really am here first and foremost for students. And so if you just want to go for a walk, if you ever just want to have coffee, if you want to share a meal, if you want me to just be a listening ear and just learn a little bit more about you, your world, and what you think is really important for me in my role to really think about, I certainly welcome that. It's actually my preferred method of working. I'd rather not be in an office all day. And really, I don't have a particular focus for today. I just really wanted to just introduce myself, and I hope to really be a presence in your subsequent meetings. So again, just really be a presence and support to all of you. And I hope in the coming year, we can really start to give shape to some of your priorities and ways that, again, we can find some alignment between your groups, your constituents, and of course our office to really create some of that great synergy. So I'll pause there. I know there's a lot more to go over, but thank you again for the invitation, and hopefully see you soon. Thanks.
Questions for Michael while he's here with us? Okay, and for those of you who don't know, so Michael has been instrumental in really bringing the cultural programs to fruition recently. So Zoe, want to raise your hand? Zoe works with NACP, which is the Native American Cultural Programs, and I work with the military cultural programs, and Michael is a very key part of bringing these spaces to fruition. And so if any of you are interested in getting involved with cultural centers, with cultural programs, and you have questions about how to go about doing so, Michael's your guy. And I can send out his information afterwards, maybe in an email, so that if anybody wants to reach out to him privately, you can also do that. So I'll pause one more time to see if there are any last minute questions before I move on. Okay, I don't see any. Thank you, Michael, for coming.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you, everyone.
All right, we're going to move on now to Michael Christie, our Chief Diversity Officer. If Michael, if you have any additional points you want to make in your report, just make them.
Hello everyone on Zoom. So a few reports. So our retreat is upcoming on Sunday, October 24th. Just a reminder, by the end of the day today, if you cannot make the retreat, you need to fill out the excuse form I sent out on Monday. Please have that filled out by the end of the day today. Also, the food accommodation form that also needs to fill out even if you don't have any food accommodations. Please fill that out. And then lastly, if you need a ride to the retreat, you need to be able to tell me ahead of time by filling out the ride request form, because that will determine how many cars we have, therefore how many people we can transport to the retreat. Retreat's only 5 minutes off campus, and it's not technically off campus, it's at Depot campus, so it's still at a UConn facility. But please just let my office know through those forms that I sent out either last week or at the beginning of this week. Please have those filled out. In terms of other stuff that's going on, there's going to be a USG Census that is going to be released on Monday of next week. The census is very long, but everyone is required to fill out the census because it is what we end up reporting to the university of the makeup of our organization. It's going to ask questions about it's going to ask personal questions, and the only people who will have access to those questions, and personal questions, I mean questions of your identity, are going to be myself and our Vice President, Ethan Worsler. That information is considered confidential, so it will not be shared with anyone else. And when it's submitted to the university, your name will not be submitted as a part of that, only the information that you provide. Other than that, that's pretty much all I have for my report. If you have any questions, you can always email me, and my number is also in my signature on my email.
Thanks, Michael. And for everyone who's going to come up after, just heads up, there is an awful wire here, so just don't fall, please. Okay, so next we have our Vice President, Ethan Worsler. I've been messing up Ethan's name for like a week now. Sorry.
Pretty sure Irene called me Noah.
I did.
The governor of Connecticut, so that's fine. Hi everybody, my name is Ethan. I'm the Vice President of USG. My report today, I have 2 main points and a final announcement which I'm excited about. First point is about a program that the provost has brought to USG to basically hear our thoughts on. It's called the First Day Forward textbook program, I think it's called. Basically, I'm going to hold most of the details of that program because it's something that I think Carl, the provost, should come in and explain more in depth to everyone before we get there. But UConn has sort of begun negotiations with Barnes & Noble, who runs our bookstore, to make sure that, to work towards a more affordable way of buying textbooks. So that's something I look forward to in the future. As for Husky Market, I'm not sure what Alexis mentioned, but Husky Market is revamping, which is our program where we give gift cards out to students in need. We're hopefully going to be able to deliver that service again this semester, starting hopefully in November at the latest. Finally, I have one more point, but finally, we have all of the new furniture for the office coming on the 8th. That's exciting. So you'll see new tables in the SOC and hopefully new tables in the funding staff area. You're welcome to do your work there, do USG work or other work if you wish, as long as you're not disturbing anyone else doing USG work. Not that I don't think that'd be a problem. Finally, I'm super excited to announce I have chosen a chief of staff. He has recently become on. Peter Spinelli, everybody. Round of applause, please. I, for some reason, was under the impression that he needed to be confirmed this week in Senate, but then I realized that was just my own mind. So I had a whole statement prepared for him. But I'll sum it up to this, that Peter is the kind of person that you want by your side. I'm very excited to be working with him this semester, this year. And I know his contribution to USG is going to be significant, to say the least. So thank you, Peter, for accepting to come on board, and I'm super excited this year. Thanks.
Welcome, Peter. Really glad to have you on the team. All right, and last but not least, our president, Mason Holland.
I was going to get claps. So, hello everybody, hope you guys are doing well. Hope your Thursday's gotten off to a good start. It's ending well as well. But I don't really have too many things on my report, but I'll go through it real quick so we can get to voting items. So, number 1, University Senate. I mentioned it last week during caucus that all of you are invited to apply for the vacant University Senate position, as well as a litany of University Committee positions. University Senate, you'd be one of 5 representatives advocating on behalf of USG in University Senate, basically where all the major proposals go. So basically it's the last stop before things kind of get codified in the university. So pass, fail, and withdrawal, go to University Senate. The same thing with really any other major initiatives that go to legislative spaces in the university. University committees, as any committee representative can tell you, I myself am one on scholastic standards, joined by Abby Engler. Basically, those are the places where proposals start. So basically, if somebody has an idea to change academic integrity policy or extend reading days, that would come out of a certain committee, and then that would make its way up to University Senate and things like that. So if you want a really more specialized approach, deal with specific issues, whether it's scholastic standards or faculty standards, I encourage you to apply for the committees. If you're interested in being one of USG's 5 representatives on University Senate, there's that route as well. I've also sent out the form to all of you through the listserv this past week. So if you don't have it or you haven't seen it, please check your emails. Just look for University Senate application or University Committee Representative application. And as well, I'm here to answer any questions, as is my Chief of Staff, Sophia, who's not here, but she's also reachable as well. So secondly, this whole past year, or this last year into this year, one of the things that I've been trying to do as president is institute a mandate for the anti-Black racist course for all first-year students. And I just wanted to let you guys know that that's still happening. There's going to be a different course of action we're taking it. We're going to be working with the provost's office more directly. Also going to be working with the ABR professors and the creators of the course more directly to see how we can institute it. But it's something that I hope to get passed at some point during this year. And I hope that by the time my administration is out, or by the very least, the time that I leave Connecticut, that all students will be mandated to take an anti-Black racist course or module or training before they're allowed to be UConn students. So that's really getting geared up now. I'm starting to work on that more specifically and focus my attention on that. And I'll also have updates as things develop. So yeah, that's that. Thirdly, James kind of pointed at this originally, but to go in a little bit more detail, we had our Rally for a Peaceful Planet. Thank you guys for those who attended, for those who supported, those who reposted, those who were part of it. It was a really impactful event. But one thing that we did realize is that even though it was a really great, really impactful event, is that not everybody understood why we had it, why, what the purpose was, what it accomplished. So sometime in this next week or the following week after this one, we'll be putting out a video in which we hope to actually elucidate what the reason for the rally was. It wasn't performative. It wasn't just so we say we did something cool and we invited a bunch of legislators. It was to create real tangible change here at UConn. Some of which you guys will be a part of, and all of it you guys will see, and we want the students to see that as well. So that's a video that's going to be going out soon. Just stay tuned for that, and it'll be on Instagram. So when it goes up, please reshare, please send it to people, and it'll be a great thing to see for everybody. So that's the third thing. The fourth thing, which is actually I'm pretty excited about because this has been a USG project for a long time, and it's going to be coming soon. We all know the water bottle filling station that UConn currently has. We know how broken it is. We know that there's a lot of dorms that don't have water bottle stations. We know that there's a lot of academic buildings that don't have those stations. And one of the things that we've done coming into this year is we sat down with the plans that were created last year, the list of locations that were set up last year, and we've talked really specifically about, number one, what locations do we need to actually pay attention to in order to create, and then secondly, where's the money coming from? I just want to let you guys know that in 2 weeks, we sent a survey out this past week to see from the student body where they think water bottle filling stations are the most needed, if there are other locations where they could be needed as well. And in 2 weeks' time, our next Senate, Chris, who's our comptroller, and myself, will be able to present to you on the final locations that we've selected in order to set up the water bottle filling stations. So I know you guys have probably seen the petition. This is no longer something that, people are trying to push us to do. This is something that we're quite literally doing, that we quite literally have the funds for, and that we will quite literally be making happen. So if you haven't filled out the form yet on Instagram, please do. It'll go a long way, and yeah, in 2 weeks' time, we'll show you guys exactly where the stations will go, where they're going to be, and you guys will know all of that. So that's coming in 2 weeks. And lastly, I know all the new senators have seen it. I've already talked to a couple of you in one-on-one meetings. I encourage you guys to sign up for the one-on-one meetings that I sent to your emails. Again, it's not mandatory. It's not something we're going to kick you out if you don't do. But I know that I don't know all of you. And I know that I need to know all of you in order to not only bolster your advocacy, but to also let you guys know that, you're part of this group, you're part of this family. And it'll be great to meet all of you. So if you do have the time, please sign up. It'll be great to meet you. If not, you don't have time, we can definitely meet another way. But I highly encourage all of you, especially new senators, to try and set up a one-on-one meeting if you can. But that's it for me. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mason, and thank you to everyone on the board who gave the report today. We're going to move into our voting items now. Now, I will warn you all, the voting items are not as interesting as they typically are. So we don't have legislation today. We will have a lot of legislation in 2 weeks' time. So at our next Senate, we will also have our parliamentarian election next Senate. So that may end up being a very interesting Senate. We'll see. But today our voting items consist of voting on minutes and confirmations, and then, of course, our budget. Now, our budget is at the end, and it's pretty lengthy, but I will say it's going to be a very important thing to be paying attention for. A lot of people tend to tune out for the budget, but it is really critical that we all pay attention because it really is not only indicative of how much money we're willing to spend on things, but it's also a value statement if you think of the way in which we spend our money, how that indicates where we place our values as an organization, and of course that reflects on every single one of us. So just foreshadowing what will be expected for today's Senate, we're going to start with approval of the minutes for 10/5/21. I will say I really tried this time to make sure that the sharing settings are good. I also ask in general, moving forward, if you have any difficulties accessing anything on the agenda, please just let me know in advance, because that way we won't have to deal with everything we've been dealing with for the last couple of Senates. But that being said, for today, if anybody has a difficulty accessing the minutes, please just let somebody up here know and we can figure it out. So the first thing we're voting on are the minutes from 10/5/21. Does anyone have any questions on these minutes? Now, I'm not going to open them up just for the sake of time, but they're linked on that agenda, so you can take a look at them if you're interested. Okay, I don't see any questions. Any points of discussion? And just to clarify, if you have a question or you have a point of discussion, you can raise your hand. What I'm thinking in the future is we're going to get name cards so everybody can have their own little placard. You'll pick it up when you come into Senate. We'll put it in front of you at your table. And typically, if you have something more lengthy, like for discussion, I'll have you come up and speak into the microphone. Okay, I don't see any points of discussion, so we're going to move to pass these minutes by unanimous consent. Are there any objections? Okay, seeing none, these minutes pass by unanimous consent. We move on to the next minutes from 10/6/21. Any questions? Okay, seeing none, any points of discussion on these minutes? All right, seeing none, we're going to move to pass these by unanimous consent. Any objections? All right, great. So both of the minutes pass by unanimous consent. We move on to confirmations. So let me see if I can move some of this stuff out of the way. And our first confirmation is that of Carter Newman to the fiscal manager position. I think I just saw Carter. Oh, right here. Okay, perfect. Chris, if you want to come up and say a few words before we move on with this one.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those who don't know, the fiscal manager position, that's basically like the deputy for my office. So like other people have deputies, there's deputy speaker. For whatever reason, mine isn't named deputy, it's named fiscal manager. So Carter will be helping me manage a lot of the club funding activities and then also a lot of the internal finances of the organization. Carter was a senator in USG up until today, and he has a lot of great community and civic engagement, and that's why I'm picking him for this position. If anyone has any questions, you can ask me or ask Carter at this time.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Chris. Any questions for Chris or in general about this confirmation? Okay, seeing none, any points of discussion? All right, and with that, I'm going to move to pass this by unanimous consent. Are there any objections? Okay, yay. With that, you are confirmed. Welcome, Carter. Congratulations on your new position. All right, so this is one of many, everyone. We're moving on to the next confirmation, which is for the inventory specialist position. Chris, if you want to do that one as well. Just stay up here.
Okay. Yeah, so I can introduce both my inventory specialist picks at the same time. So like I said at the beginning of Senate, inventory is a big thing that we're working on right now with USG. We're trying to update all of our inventory systems and make sure all our records are up to date and everything. I think we have like about $750,000 worth of items. So the inventory specialist will be going through all of that, kind of auditing everything and making sure clubs are actually reporting things accurately. So for those positions, I'm nominating Madison Cleary and as well as Casper Pesco. And both of them have extensive experience on campus, professional experience, and whatnot. So I think they're going to make really good picks for that. So if anyone has any questions for them or me, you can ask them.
Perfect. Are there any questions? I have to stand on my tiptoes just to have the same microphone as Chris. All right, any questions at all? Okay, seeing none, any points of discussion? Oh, say, Madison, I really like the color of your sweatshirt. Welcome, both of you. I'm going to move to pass this by unanimous consent. Any objections? Okay, seeing none, congratulations to both of you for your new positions. Welcome to USG. Okay, next we have, I have to call Alexis again. All right, so now we're going to view that Alexis is nominating, so I'm going to give her a quick phone call. I know she can hear me, but we can't hear her unless it's on speaker. But the first will be for the position of Sexual Health and Wellness Advocacy Co-Coordinator. Alexis, if you want to introduce both of the co-coordinators simultaneously, that might be best.
Yeah. So I nominated Michaela Dawkins and David Tortilla to the Sexual Health and Wellness and Education Committee under the Student Services Committee. These two women are very involved in reproductive justice and creating an equitable university for those who entry on campus down to those who need gender affirming. And I believe that there's no two other women that are more positioned to be in power, and they should be in this role. I love them. They're great.
Perfect. Michaela and Dana, do you want to wave? Just because I'm not here, if you want to wave. I'm not sure if you're here, but if you are, welcome. If not, if you're online, welcome. Does anyone have any questions about these two positions? Okay, any points of discussion? All right, seeing none, I'm going to motion to pass both of these simultaneously by unanimous consent. Does anyone have any objections? Okay, and with that, we pass both the positions. Congratulations, both of you, and welcome to USG. Okay, next we have the confirmation of Food and Security Co-Coordinators. Alexis, if you want to introduce both of these as well.
Okay, so I'm Camilla Morales and Josephine Hunt. Again, two well-accomplished ladies. Camilla has recently been involved in USG Hartford, so it's very nice to see her at the main campus this year. We're excited to have her. They both worked really hard on helping people understand urban living, food injustice, and food insecurity. And they're very smart women that belong in these roles. So, yeah.
Perfect. Any questions? If either of you are here, could you wave? Because if you're online, that's fine. I don't want to wait. Perfect. Hello. Welcome. Anyone else? Okay. Well, either way, welcome to USG. Does anyone have any questions? Okay. Any points of discussion? All right. We're going to motion to pass this by unanimous consent. Any objections? Okay. Seeing that it passes, you are both in USG now. Congratulations on your new position. Thank you for being here. All right, bye, Alexis. Okay, so last but not least, actually we got through the confirmations very quickly. Hopefully I'll be getting you out of here at a decent time. We now only have one more item on the agenda as for our voting items, and that is our fiscal year 2022 budget. So Christopher, if you'd like to come up here, give us a good idea of what we're voting on, why we're discussing our budget, what it means for everyone. That would be excellent. Thank you.
Okay, so hi everyone. I introduced myself before, but just again, my name is Chris Bergen. I'm the comptroller of USG. Comptroller, just a fancy name for student body treasurer. So I'm the chief financial officer of the organization, which means I'm in charge of all the internal finances and whatnot. So today we're going to be reviewing and voting on the final fiscal year budget for this year. Many of you were in the Senate back in the spring. And if you'll remember, we all voted on the preliminary budget. So there's a preliminary budget, and then there's a final budget now that we're voting on for USGA. So, yeah. So this is a very important graph. So just to give some background of USG, every single year we take in, like any other business, we'll have revenue coming in, and we'll also have expenditures over time. And our goal, because we are like a government agency, pretty much. Our goal is to match the amount of expenditures that we have with the amount of expenses we have, because every single semester we take in student activity fees, and if we don't spend this money and we're taking in money, we're kind of having like an unnecessary tax on students. So we're we're trying to match that number up perfectly so we're not charging them too much money. So you can see here over the last 5 years, our net worth has pretty much grown to an unprecedented level. And that's because, like, for a couple reasons, in particular, since the coronavirus pandemic, we weren't able to spend as much money as we were historically, and at the same time, we didn't cut the amount of money we took in for student activity fees. So we've basically just been racking up a ton of money in the bank, which is good because now this year we have a ton of money to spend. So you can see, I'll start with July 1st of this year because our fiscal year starts in July and it ends in June of the following year. So you can see on June 1st, we had $1.8 million in the bank, which is a ton of money. And then we also had $360,000 in outstanding obligations, which is just like money we just owe to different vendors for different things. So that gave us a $1.4 million rollover from the year before. So on top of that, to add to the $1.4 million that we had from the year before, we will be receiving this year $1.65 million in student activity fees. And just for like a quick background, the student activity fees that USG collects is $45 per semester, and we have about 18,000 undergraduate students at UConn, so that adds up to the $1.65 million that we get. So yeah, this is a pretty brief budget overview. I can go into more of the budget specifics in a second. But you can see on the left-hand side, it breaks it down per office. So we got like the office of the president, like all the executives' offices, and then we also have a breakdown of each committee. So you can see like some of the biggest offices is my office, and I can show you why that's the biggest. Second biggest is like Student Services Committee, because they do a lot of things that require funding on campus. And we also have Academic Affairs and Student Development Committee, which also have a big budget. And so yeah, in total that adds up to about $3.1 million that we're hoping to spend this year. So when you add together our revenue that we're going to be receiving from the student activity fees, in addition to the rollover in money that we had this year, if we were to spend all of that money, that would draw our bank account down to $0. So just a little disclaimer, a lot of these budgeted line items, it's different than like a business. So like for government budgets, it's kind of like a set in stone. This is like the upper limit. You can spend up to this amount. So a lot of times we don't actually spend up to that amount. It's very rare that we'll exactly spend that money. So there's always money left over. So even though the budget balances and it will leave us with $0 at the end of the year, we should expect that there should be some money left over into the bank account. So yeah, I can go to the exact budget right now. Anyone have any questions so far about this? No? Okay. Yeah, so you can see here, I'll try not to go through every single line item individually, but if committee directors or any department heads want to come up and talk about their budget, they're welcome to. Or if anyone has any specific questions about the line item right now would be the time to ask. So, any questions about any specific line item at all? I can talk about the biggest line item on here. So I've said this like 3 times today already. So our biggest expenditure are Tier 2 clubs. So you can see up here, I have budgeted about $1 million for that, which is a ton of money. That's clubs. Each club is allowed to request up to like $25,000 for the year. So that's why that's the biggest expense. Yeah, pretty much it for that. And then we have non-student payroll. So we have a couple professional staff members who help us process all the club funding stuff. There's a lot of intricacies that go into that. So that requires a couple of professional staff to help us with that. And then we have student payroll, so like all of us are paid. There's a lot of members of the executive branch that are paid that help us. these activities and whatnot. So those are some major expenses. We also have Husky Market. That's for $300,000. And Ethan, if you want to come up and talk a little bit about that, you're welcome to. But that's, in a nutshell, that's basically we're giving out money to students in order to buy like groceries on campus. So we'll have a couple rounds of that this year where individuals can apply to get funding to buy groceries from like McGuire or other grocery stores. Do you have anything to add to that, Ethan?
I think you got it.
You're good? Okay. Another thing is the Period Box initiative. So this will provide free Metro products to all students on campus who want some. So we'll have a lot of them to distribute this year. As Mason mentioned before, we also are funding the water bottle refill station initiative. So that's going to come out to be about $75,000. And a note on that is, I forgot the exact number. It should be around like 20 water bottle refill stations, 15 to 20, something like that. The university actually approached a few of us saying that they would give us like leeway and decisions over how this like Coca-Cola fund we spent. Coca-Cola donated like $100,000 to the university. So we decided that money would be spent towards water bottle refill stations, and then we're also going to contribute this money as well to ensure all the water bottle refill stations that we want to install are able to be funded. So that's that, and then I'm trying to think if there's anything else that's notable on here. Anyone have questions? I think that's pretty much it on my end. Yeah, Ethan.
So, say for example, we need to change this budget. How do we go about doing that for the future?
That's a good question. So back in the spring, we voted on a preliminary budget for this fiscal year. And while we had the preliminary budget in the Senate, we couldn't meet our governing board, which is basically like all of us executives. We would be allowed to vote to add a few line items to this budget. But after today, if anyone wants to amend this budget, it has to get presented in front of Senate. So if one of you have an advocacy idea that isn't on this budget yet, and you want to add it on there, you would have to come to the next Senate and we would vote on amending this budget. So yeah, that's a good question. Yep.
Yes, I guess I had two questions. The first one is, since we have a lot more money in terms of revenue. So I just wanted to ask, since we're having more money in the revenue, a lot of these programs have gone and boosted in the budget. Would that be the correct assumption?
Yeah, for sure. So we're trying to spend down our rollover from the year before. We're trying to spend down our bank account, because otherwise this is like on an unrelated note. If we don't spend down this bank account, the university might reassess, do we actually need such a high student activity fee? So we're doing this kind of to make up for the last couple of years of USG not spending their money as much as they could.
So I guess my concern is, since the budgets are being boosted, is there a concern that some of these programs, next year, when there's a normal budget per se, will we run into any problems with that? Them having heightened expectations this year, is there any need for concern to us?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't think there's really any need for concern. I think it's better to spend the money we have now as soon as possible. I mean, of course, we want to leave some money left over, which inevitably there will be money left over to put towards these programs next year. But I think it's important that we budget for the money that we have, and reoccurring expenses will have to be decided by the next Senate that's in here next year, who votes on that budget, and they'll have the ability to decide how the money they receive next year is spent. So that's about concern.
It's working? Yeah. I can add on to that. We don't use the money that we have right now. So technically when you pay your student fee for USG, it's like paying a tax. So if we don't spend that money within the time frame that those students that paid the original fee are at the university, then the money isn't going to be used in a way that benefits them. So it's sort of counterproductive because you're paying tax and you're not benefiting from it. So that's another reason why we want to use it. It's not just that we are like money hungry and want to keep a high budget. If we feel like it's too much, we can easily, ask for a cut, and that might be something we consider as a governing body down the road if we feel like we can't spend it. And also, just to clarify for the purposes of the agenda and for minutes, we're now in the questions section of the voting item. So just wanted to make that note for the minutes. And yeah, if anyone has any other questions for Chris, just raise your hand and we'll call on you.
Yeah, for sure. To reiterate what Irene was saying, we want to spend 100% of the money that we receive each year because students should get 100% back in services from what they pay in student activity. We're not like a normal business. We're not trying to rack up the bank account. We want to make sure students are getting out of what they pay for. Okay.
Wait, so you said we can add line items to the budget next Senate, right?
Yeah, so we're trying to discourage that. But yeah, if we need to add line items to the budget, it will have to be voted on at the next Senate, by the Senate. So, I think I'll turn it over to Irene. So, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Chris. It took a really long time to do this, a lot of work to make our budget, so thank you for all the work you put into this. So one last round. Any last questions for Chris before we move into the discussion portion of the agenda? Okay. All right, seeing none, we're going to move into discussion. So this is a point where if you wanted to say something about the budget, but maybe it's not framed as a question, maybe you wanted to start a conversation about something that you weren't sure about or you're interested in discussing with other senators, this would be the time to raise your hand. So are there any points of discussion on the budget? And I want to re-emphasize that anything that is said or is not said when we discuss this budget is going to reflect on all of us as a governing body. When students later on look at us and say, well, this is how USG allocated their money in the 2021-2022 fiscal year. So I just want to stress the importance of that. So any points of discussion on this budget at this time?
I just wanted to make a note. So it's really easy to budget money, right? It's really easy to say, Husky Market, $300,000, let's go for it. I guess what I'd really encourage after this is voted on and this is agreed to, which I assume it will, that everybody try to do their best to actually go and do the next part, which is even harder, which is going to the committee, which is actually working on with students to see what they want, how they want it, the actual process of spending the money, which is the hardest part sometimes. With USG, we always run into the same issue every year where we're not able to spend all $1.65 million. It's as simple as just not people there to do it, or the interest to do it, or to know how to do it. So I guess as a point of discussion, I really encourage everybody to try to take the extra effort, as I will myself, to make sure we actually stick to the budget. We spend every bit of dollars that we're allocating right now back to students, because at the end of the day, that's what's really going to help. I just wanted to enter that as a point of discussion.
Ethan, does anyone have anything to add to what Ethan said, or any comments, thoughts on that point? Okay, that's fine. All right, seeing none, we're going to return to the agenda and we're going to move to pass this. Now, I'm going to motion to pass this by unanimous consent. I typically would not do that, but there was absolutely no questions or discussion. So my assumption is that means that everyone here is in favor of this budget. But that being said, I'm going to ask if there are any objections, and if you have no objection, please don't hesitate to say anything. No one will judge you for it. So I motion to pass this budget by unanimous consent. Does anyone have any objections? And the objection is not to the budget, but to passing it by unanimous consent. Okay, seeing none, this budget passes. This is officially our budget for this fiscal year. Congratulations to all of you, because this is going to be impacting all of us. So yeah, I saw that was about to be a round of applause, so we're going to go over. All right. We officially have money, everyone, we can do things. Okay, so we're done with the voting items, which is great. We don't have any points of discussion, also great. So we're going to move into some quick announcements. The first is that next Senate will not be in here, so I want to emphasize that. This semester we had funky like wording with our scheduling, and our rooms are not the same. Next Senate will be in the 330 ballroom. So it's still up here. I will still send that in the email, but it's not in here. So the last announcement is that the deputy speaker and parliamentarian positions are live, which means that if you're interested in running for either of those, please fill out the form by the end of the week, because for deputy speaker, I will begin interviews relatively soon. So that will really be on a rolling basis. I'm thinking Friday should be the deadline for that, and then it's sort of a cutoff. And then after that, I'm going to start interviewing so I can get somebody on my team soon, so I don't have to do this on my own anymore. And the parliamentary election will be next Senate. So if you're interested in running for parliamentarian, start speaking with your fellow senators, because they're the ones voting for you. They're the only people that can vote for you. And with that being said, next caucus, so a week from now, we'll do some bonding activities so you can sort of like use that to get to know your fellow senators as well. So any questions on the fact that those positions are currently live? Okay, excellent. So we're going to close out our announcements, and I'm going to call to close at 7:25 p.m. Thank you all for coming. I'm going to stay after as usual. I'm here for questions, comments, concerns. Thank you for coming, and be sure to fill out the attendance sheet before you head out.